peeps, I'm Marie-Noëlle. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. It's the first time that I've decided to actually make an official video for YouTube that isn't just a sketchbook tour. I noticed that you really enjoyed the swatching of the Rebecca Holbein gouache palette, and I understand why, because it's a beautiful palette. Anyway, so I thought it would be fun today to share with you a few things that I got in the mail and maybe give you some little tips and tricks for your gouache. If you want to paint along, you're welcome to join me. Grab your sketchbook and your paints and let's get painting. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then you can like and subscribe. It's funny to say, it's the first time I've ever said that. Like and subscribe, peeps. It'll make me happy. Anyway, let's get to it. I have a jug of water. Usually I recommend having two, but I just have one because sometimes I'm a little lazy. A rag, a palette, a sketchbook. This is actually a piece of art that I made a few weeks ago as I was prepping for my Skillshare class that I released not long ago, 4 days ago. And this was, to really just show that you can get these really flat, matte, opaque surfaces with gouache. And that's actually what the class is about. Anyway, but that's not what this video is about. I just wanted to give you one example, but I'm going to... I think it's my last page in my sketchbook. That's exciting. But what it is that I got in the mail today are two brushes that I'm very excited to try out. The Princeton Velvet Touch, size 8, long round, and size 4, long round. And I actually saw these recommended by Rebecca Green, the one whose palette I was testing out last time. And I just thought they were really cool because look at the shape of them. So they're like round, they're pretty thick, and then they taper to a fine point. And I have a bunch of brushes, but I actually have never had any that had this exact shape. So, I have this travel brush, which I really love. It's a Raphael brush, which is really cool. Let me show you. Especially if you want to make sure you don't ruin your brush while you're traveling. It just very easily does that. There's another one that I used in my most recent class, which is also a Raphael, more of a square brush. But in general, I would say with acrylic gouache in particular, I recommend more using synthetic brushes. I have some favorite natural brushes that I use mostly for my watercolor, but because acrylic gouache is acrylic and so it dries hard, I just feel like that's maybe a little bit too rough for my natural brushes and I don't want to ruin them. So I like getting some nice synthetic ones. And yeah, these are the ones that I'm excited to try. I always love a super fine point. So I hope that you'll join me in doing a little bit of painting today. And actually I have like a brush holder. I don't know where. Instead of getting water on my desk. And so the paints that I have are a few colors that I got recently and that I love. I went to a store in Montreal and they had Holbein, which I don't know, I'm never able to find them like in physical stores. And so the colors that I got there were these ones. Ash rose, pale lime, olive, pale peach, misty green, deep magenta, pale pink. And I also got like a luminous red. I have a couple others, but I think I'm just going to play around with these a little bit. Did I say that I had a neon one? This one's neon, super neon. Pretty fun though. Maybe we'll start with that one. Why not, right? Obviously, I don't know if that's going to come through in the video, but... Oh, and this is just a random sketch of a greenhouse. I love greenhouses. That I made the other day. Okay, what other color? How about some deep magenta? Sometimes I'll just start, when I don't really know how to start, I'll just pick one color and just go from there. But sometimes I'll, lay out a few colors on the palette and then work that way. And this is my current favorite, olive. Love this color. So what I love most is, or what I've done the most and what I still love most is improvising, which means that you start painting without a plan. And I know for a lot of people that can be really scary, but if you've never done it, excuse me, if you've never done it and you're especially nervous about it, then I'd like to invite you to join me on this little improvisational journey. And one of the ways that I kind of reduce that pressure is just by remembering that this is just practice. Every time that you show up in your sketchbook is just an opportunity to practice being creative. And it doesn't matter if you create a beautiful drawing or an ugly drawing. That's really not the most important thing. The most important thing for me is to really just kind of delve into the process and really enjoy having fun with your materials, these materials that are kind of magical, like we have access to these crazy paints with these crazy pigments. It really just blows my mind. And I'm just going to give you one more tip that is something that I talk about more in my class that I just released. Is one of the ways that I also kind of reduce that panic is by focusing on the sensation. So the sensation of your brush on the page, a regular reminder that there's no wrong or right way of doing this. What we're doing doesn't have to look like a thing. It can look like a thing if you want to make a thing that looks like a thing, but it really doesn't have to. And you can really just adjust as you go along. Okay, my first impressions of this brush are, I love it. Is that a good review? I love how thin it gets, but it also has a really nice length. I like the length of it. And so you'll notice that I'm not really making a flat opaque surface right now. It's kind of a mix of, more transparent sections and some slightly thicker sections. And the texture of gouache, again, there's no right or wrong way of going about it. It's really just what you're looking for and kind of being intentional with what it is that you're looking for. Since right now I'm really improvising and I don't have a plan, I'm fine with just having many different types of textures, whether that's opaque or transparent or anything between the two. You can play around with shape and line. Line is a really fun one. Do squiggles, dry brush. Just play. That's really kind of the aim of the game here. There's no other real aim than to have a nice moment together, getting creative in our sketchbooks. I'll actually spend a lot of time just inventing games for myself in my sketchbook. And that's a really great way of also kind of loosening up. So for example, I made this whatever, this abstract whatever. Decided, oh, it would be fun to changing colors. But then what do I do with this color? So then I kind of invent a little tiny rule, a tiny little game for myself that is going to make it more fun. And in this case, I was like, oh, well, why don't I fill in this little closed square shape with my color? And just by inventing little rules for yourself, it really just turns it into a kind of fun experience, because it really just kind of emphasizes that we're just here to play and practice with our art materials and kind of show ourselves that we're allowed to do anything we want in our sketchbooks. Literally, we are in the driver's seat. We're the ones that get to choose. So, because it has such a fine point, I think maybe for making a flat surface, I would prefer to maybe use a different kind of brush, because I'm kind of finding it more difficult to do that with this one. See, I would really lean into what my brush kind of allows me to do. But you also only know what it does if you try to kind of push its boundaries and see where it leads. But I have to say, it's got a really nice, very thin tip, which is something that I personally love. Gouache is such a fun, versatile medium. And I really don't have any sort of rules in terms of when to change color or not to change color. But I am going to, because I kind of want to fill in kind of this white space. See, another rule that I just created for myself, because why not? And since I wasn't enjoying that process so much with this one, I'm going to flip to my kind of regular round brush, which doesn't have such a thin tip. I think it'll be better for that. Actually, I might even go for my square tip. I didn't wash it very well, so it's a little bit stiff. That's something else actually that you can use if you have acrylic, is a brush cleaner, so that your brush doesn't get as stiff, and it actually allows you to keep your paints for your brushes for a little bit longer. So this is the pale peach. Yeah, pale peach. I'm probably going to take a bit more of that one. Just kind of want to fill up these white spaces. And I quite like this pale peach with the olive and the dark magenta, which honestly looks more purple. The nice thing with acrylic gouache is that you can layer. So you can layer very easily because it doesn't reactivate with water once it's dry. But so if you do want to layer, it's kind of better to really wait until it's fully dry. I kind of like these sort of random organic shapes, the first green ones, but I want to bring in some of this pale pink in between without ruining the shape that I got in there. So I'm probably gonna cover some of it up, just because. So if I had planned this, then maybe I would have made this as the background first and then made those organic shapes on the top. But the fun thing with working with improvisation is that you can also, like, let's say once I'm done with this piece and I realize, like, oh, I really liked that, but I could do it even better, then you can just redo it again. And this time, since you've already done it once, you already have an idea of maybe how to go about it better the next time. So you could do the thing that I was talking about, where you do this background first, and then add the green shapes. Obviously, if you do have a background, it's going to influence the way the colors look, even if you're layering on the top of it, but that can also be fun to experiment with. But so I'm actually not going to fill in all the white spaces, but most of them. And I also chose not to put any music on right now because I thought it would be better if you wanted any, then you could pick your own. But painting to music is also really fun and really inspiring as well. Got a little bit of water on the top there. And why don't we play around with some of this neon? We're just going to do another maybe 5 minutes. And honestly, this probably won't necessarily even be a finished piece. I just wanted to show you these brushes and play along with some gouache with you. And we're going to go for the smaller one, long round 4. But if you feel like continuing, if you feel like painting some more, then you can of course just either start the video again from the beginning or just put some music on and continue as long as you'd like. So I really want to play with this super fine point. Which obviously for little dots can be really fun. But it could be fun to have like maybe also a bigger surface area with this neon so you can really get a sense of the neon color. I actually have the Holbein pencil of this luminous red. And that's something else that can be really fun, is working with mixed media. So adding a little bit more of like, I don't know, neocolor or colored pencil or even watercolor, pastels. That can also be pretty fun to do. So you can already see if I'm layering the neon on top of the darker color, it obviously will affect the color that I'm placing on it, so it's not as bright. But it's a beautiful, it goes really well with this purple, dark magenta. Deep magenta, sorry, I keep calling it dark, but it's deep magenta. And I'm going to be honest with you, I quite like where this is going, but this is how you can sometimes just have fun. It's like, I like it, so what can I do that would destroy it? Or, you know, bring it completely in a different direction. Sometimes I do this just for fun. Again, it's not about the results. It's really just to play. So why don't I do that? So I'm going to just choose to do like a big swath of this neon somewhere. And yeah, see what that does. See where that brings you. And again, always this idea of little games. So I started and then I was like, oh, it would be fun to kind of outline that. And I kind of like how the varying thicknesses of the gouache give different levels of transparency. Do you see that? How it creates that really interesting texture? So that's a fun observation. And that's one thing that I'd ask you to do today before we wrap up. And I'm going to wrap up real soon so that this video isn't too long. But is to take some time to observe different things in your artwork that you've made today that you think are interesting, that you might want to explore a little bit more in a future painting. I think that gaining this habit of observing and analyzing our own work can really level up your art practice. It's a fun habit to integrate because it also re-emphasizes this idea that our sketchbooks are tools for learning, and that we're going to grow with each single drawing or painting that we make, even when it is absolutely ugly. So before you finish your session, take a moment to identify maybe, 2-3 things that you might want to explore a little more. All right. It's nothing like mind-breaking, but I really enjoyed it. There are some things that I really like about it. I'll give you an example of some of the things that I'm going to take away. Is I really like this varying thicknesses, which allowed the layer underneath to kind of shine through. I really like these little stripes of the neon on the pale peach. And I also really love these brushes. That is the reason why I wanted to come on and do some painting with you today, where you have this really thin tip, and it's really great for little detail work and some more flowy organic shapes. Those are my takeaways. I'd love to hear what your takeaways are from your session if you've decided to participate. I really enjoyed doing this. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos to paint along with. And speaking of, if you do want to keep on painting, I'm going to actually be doing a live drawing session next Friday, the Friday 24th on Patreon, where we're going to be doing studies of landscapes from the show His Dark Materials, which I'm currently obsessed with and just has the most stunning locations. And yeah, so it's gonna be fun. So if you want to do some more painting, then feel free to join that. That is at the $15 tier, the Moon Moss Club. We get together, have some fun, get our paints out. It's nice. If you've never done a landscape study and that sounds kind of daunting, don't worry. I'll be talking you through the different steps to do that. And it's not as difficult as you'd think. And most of all, it's just super inspiring to look at beautiful images and try to see what it is that we can pull from them to bring into our own artwork. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. Other than that, like and subscribe. Second time I said it ever. And yeah, let me know in the comments how it was for you, and I hope to see you again soon.